the piece de resistance, we're going to talk to Mr. Isula, who's going to tell us all about his electronics and computer technology class, which I've been getting a lot of questions about. I have a question already from Alex Smith, and if it's for web tech, I can probably still answer it. So go ahead and ask it. But let's get rolling. Mr. Isula, can you tell me a little bit about your program? Oh no, you're muted. Mm-mm.
There
we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Good evening and welcome to the Harkness Career and Technical Center. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks for being here.
The Electronics and Computer Technology program was the first program actually ever offered at Erie when bow season. It started, gosh, I'm going to say almost 4 decades ago, and things have sure changed a lot with technology and computers certainly since then. Our program is a 2-year program. It's designed to take someone who knows absolutely nothing about electricity or electronics, except maybe how to turn on a light switch. And by the end of the 2 years of the program, you will have acquired enough knowledge and skills to be able to work on something like this circuit board with all these computer chips and resistors and other components and stuff. So most juniors or people interested in the program look at this and go like, yeah, right, I'm going to be able to understand this kind of technology and stuff. And it's exactly what we do.
Looking at that, is that a motherboard? Is that what you would call a motherboard?
That's actually since you asked, it's a parallel. It's from a former student of ours, a graduate who actually works, you would think electronics jobs are primarily with big electronic companies and things like that. But Alex works for the New Jersey Transit Authority, and that's actually a parallel processor out of a toll machine on the New Jersey Turnpike. So, who'd have thought you would have found a job there in electronics?
Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? And I am going to try my best to keep up with like lingo, but I have been admitting all night long that I know nothing about any of this stuff. So thank you for telling me for correcting me about the motherboard thing. I'm so sorry I interrupted you. You were telling us about your awesome program and what you're going to learn.
As I said, so by the end of the 2 years, you are ready for generally 3 possible career paths. Many of our students, I'm very proud to say, after they attend their internship, I would say 8 out of 10 at this point are offered a full-time job right out of high school. So they're able to go directly to work without having to go on for further schooling and things like that. And that's primarily because once they go in for an interview and an employer sees the skills and the knowledge that they've acquired. I had one young man about 2 years ago that he actually was going to miss his high school graduation ceremony because he was supposed to start with a large corporation here in Western New York. But we kind of talked him out of that, like go and graduate and then pursue your career.
Yeah. That's really impressive.
And again, our emphasis here is primarily, as I said, on it's my job to get you a job or to start a career in the field of electronics. And for me, the best part is when the students come back and they share all these neat experiences and stories and things like that, the cool stuff that they are doing and things that I couldn't even imagine. It didn't even exist actually a few years ago or so. One of the parts of our program, as is for most programs, is we put together a portfolio, which is basically, it can be an electronic format on a flash drive or a printed copy, but a typical student portfolio contains activities, information, projects, things like that you've put together throughout the course of the 2 years here. So it includes things like your professional resume and lab experiments and things like that. So I got an email about 4 weeks ago, which I'd like to share with you regarding a student portfolio because
yes, please.
This kind of says it all. So this is from a young man named James. And again, this is the kind of stuff I like to share with my students. It says, hello, thanks, Mr. Isula. I got a hire at Moog because you provided me with a giant binder of proof that I know what I'm doing.
I mean, he spelled it out.
Yep. Have a good day, James. So that was basically the entire thing. So again, a lot of students would like to write essays and different movie reviews and things like that as well. But when you walk into a real job interview, not going for something where you're going to be in a fast food situation or something like that, but to start a corporate career and they see something like this, generally we're finding that the interview team would say, did you write this? Is this yours? And they go, well, yeah, that's what I did at Harkness. When can you start? And again, for me, that's the best part.
Right, absolutely. And Moog is no joke. That's the other thing. Like, if he was writing about how he got a job at Moog based on that portfolio, that's impressive. Very impressive.
And it just goes on. Again, for me, the best part is having students come back and share their experiences and what they're doing. And one of the questions I know I'd kind of prepped for was, where are our grads working? And again, even in this time of a pandemic, people are thinking that, well, am I going to be able to get a job when this is over and things like that? It's like, you can get a job right now. James would be an example of someone who was hired at Moog just a couple of weeks ago or so.
Oh, really?
It's the demand is still there. Production is still going on with a lot of companies. And for me, just over the years, it's like a who's who of American industry of where companies work and kind of the things that we do. I happen to have my Intel shirt on today, and we have a grad named Matthew Rice, who graduated from Frontier High School. And he went on to work at at the Intel.
Yeah.
And he talks about flying on the corporate jet at Intel and all the cool experiences. And they have like water wars with the garden hoses in the fab labs where they make all these fancy computer chips and stuff. But again, it's nice for the students to have a grad come back and tell about all these opportunities and cool things that are out there that they can do.
Absolutely. Things to look forward to on graduation and, to push you further and to want to get into the working industry, like the working world.
Well, and to give you a reason, I think one of the coolest things about what we do is when the students come back, it's like, it's not a job. It's something that they're excited to get up to in the morning. And it's like, they're looking forward to going to work because I'm working on this project or doing this cool thing. And I think that separates kind of a career from a job, certainly.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned projects. So I've been asking everybody, when kids are at homeschool, their projects look like book reports or, research papers. What does a project look like in Mr. Isula's class?
Well, starting out in the first year with the juniors, and again, I wasn't kidding when I said that we assume nothing at all, just except how to maybe turn on a light switch or whatever. We have students from very diverse backgrounds. Some have never really used a screwdriver or hand tools before, and they don't know the difference between a slot head and a Phillips and things like that. Other issues are sometimes math. People say, well, in electronics, there's a lot of mathematics and engineering and stuff. And again, that can't be further from the truth until you get into the upper levels of engineering and stuff like that. But we've had many students that did very well at their homeschool math programs, and in some cases actually passed the basic math, because once they got into electronics, they said, that algebra stuff where letters stand for numbers and stuff, I can actually use that to build a project or do something cool. And again, that helps
putting
them
it to something tangible.
Yes, like projects. So again, to answer your question, I just grabbed about 50 things here, little projects.
The more the merrier.
But just a couple of different things. This is one of my favorite ones, actually. This is an old-time crystal radio set. And when we're studying amplitude modulation and frequency modulation and radio and everything from how cell phones work and stuff, we go back to the olden days when you couldn't buy a radio. You had to build your own because they just weren't making them. So the big thing today is to use 2-liter pop bottles. But the students build a little crystal radio set, and they take it out in their backyard at home or whatever.
Yeah.
And they receive radio stations from all across the United States. There's no batteries involved or anything. It's just like a 2-liter pop bottle with some wire wrapped around it. But the math and the science that's involved in here is just like, it's just so cool. People want to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I want to touch it. I want to take it apart, and I want to know how that works, because in my brain, I'm like, you need a battery. So I'm going to come down to your room and I'm going to take that apart. I'm going to need to see.
I'll send you the kit. It's a great project to put together at home.
That's super fun. We do have a little question here. Do you need a certain GPA to take a course at BOCES? No. You can sign up so long as you have that drive in you and you want to see what a program's like, you want to commit to it for the 2 years, then you are more than welcome. Talk to your guidance counselor. If you get waitlisted from a specific program, can you do a different one? Sure. Absolutely. I mean, so what we're seeing tonight is that a lot of our programs, because it's tech night, right? We've talked to cybersecurity, we've talked to Ms. Roloff with game design and web tech. So we're talking about a lot of repeating things. We talked to Mr. Oronaka. a lot of the same words are coming up. So you might be interested in two different programs. So if you get waitlisted on one, don't get discouraged first about the waitlist, but maybe see if there's something adjacent to what you're interested in that might take you in a different direction that you didn't really think about before, but could be really cool. Oh, what is the maximum amount of classes one person can take at a time? You're getting a lot of questions today, Mr. Isula. Unfortunately, it is one class at a time. So typically, a student will sign up for a class and they will take their junior and senior year in that class because it builds. So you can't take the senior year without taking the junior year. And I'm going to take a little extra time to explain why you can't really switch either, because if you are a senior and you want to switch into a different program, you have to take the junior course. And unfortunately, at your homeschool, typically your schedule won't allow for that. So make sure when you're looking around, do your research and make sure you want to commit to those 2 years. There are like random circumstances, but I'm not going to advertise that because it's not typical that you would switch. Could this program help figure out how to make, oh, this one's for you because I don't know some of these words. Could this program help you figure out how to make an actual working fusion reactor?
Very good question, as the first proper response for something like that. We haven't had much luck with fusion yet, but if you go to the Skunk Works, I'll just give you a hint with that. Apparently, the Skunk Works division of Lockheed Martin has developed a fusion reactor, and they haven't released it yet because we're going to be able to put this little box in our car that's probably about a foot square, and we'll never have to buy gas for the car as long as you own it. So you may be a little late on the fusion reactor, but check out the Skunk Works with Lockheed Martin. Supposedly, they have perfected the fusion reactor, and they're getting ready to release it.
Well, now I'm going to investigate this because I'd like to learn about how I don't have to pay for gas anymore.
Well, comes with the car.
Right, it comes with the car. The car is very expensive. So we talked about projects and we've talked about some of your successful alumni already. We're talking a lot about with, I'm stuttering now. It's been a long day. Your articulation agreements and the directions that kids can go after they graduate from your program, if they want to go college or right out into the workforce. So what are some of their options after graduation?
Well, as I said, we're very fortunate in that we have a very high percentage of our grads that are able to go right to work in a full-time employment situation. And having 4 children of my own, one of the, I think the greatest things and what I tell my students here is, if you do desire to go on to college and get an engineering degree or something more higher level education, I would go out first and get a job with an employer, a major company, and trick them into paying for your college. It seems almost impossible that, yeah, right, a company's going to pay for my college. It happens all the time. We had a young man, Phil Hodges, that graduated from this program from Lackawanna. And he ended up working for American Optical, and they paid completely for his degree at the University of Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
When Phil started here, he had difficulty first with the mathematics and kind of the concepts and starting. And I won't ever forget the last day he visited here, about maybe 3-4 years ago. But anyways, first we went out in the parking lot and we looked at his brand new Mustang that he had bought. And secondly, he went up on the board and he was drawing. It's that machine that blows the puff of air at your eye when you go into the eye doctor checkup. Well, Phil was explaining how all that stuff worked, and that's what he was on the design team for. And I'm like, Phil, you had trouble writing an essay, like one paragraph when you were here. You just blew all of us away. Nobody has any idea what you're talking about now.
Yeah, mouth agape.
But again, it's not unusual for a company to pay for certainly part of your education because they benefit from it as well. So that's certainly a possible path for students that leave here. But again, I would trick an employer into paying for your college so you're not stuck with student loans or anything like that.
Hey, it's not a bad way to go. And that's another thing that gets a recurring theme tonight of, start working and then eventually that company, if they want to keep you and you're doing your work and working hard, they're going to push you to further your education and they'll pay for it. So, if you're looking at jobs, you're looking at companies, ask them, if it can't hurt. You have another question.
What their packages are. we had a gentleman who owned a welding company here in Buffalo. It was actually a sales company. They sold these giant welders, and he needed students to repair them, or technicians. So he was starting them out at like $26 an hour and 2 weeks paid vacation. And I mean, they're just starting out and they weren't even like out of high school yet. And I'm like, again, as we talked about, like jobs in electronics and technology, like at the New Jersey Turnpike, working on the electronic toll equipment or whatever, or working for a welding company that sells welders and has to service them and things like that. I've got a young man, Tommy Lockwood, that graduated from this program. He used to fix TVs, a little company on Ridge Road in Lackawanna, New York. But anyways, last I heard, he was regional sales for General Electric Medical. So doing the CAT scanners and the x-ray machines and things like that. And he started out as a technician as well. So again, starting out, getting in these companies, look at what the benefit packages are, and they make it pretty attractive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you have another question, and I was waiting for someone to ask about this actually. Would students in your class, Mr. Isula, be able to work with electronics like a Tesla coil, like the ones behind you?
Absolutely. That Tesla coil that's behind me was built by students here. So we talk about Tesla and the current war, certainly between Tesla and Edison and things like that. That's kind of a medium-sized Tesla coil that's behind me. We also started building miniature Tesla coils that are about 3 inches high and run off a 9-volt battery. So again, there's so much technology and math that's involved in a Tesla coil, just to be able to calculate how many turns of wire and things like that. But absolutely, that's the kind of stuff we do here. I know, and I can still think back to some of my teachers in high school. I mean, I didn't want to sit at a desk and listen to somebody talk all day or read out of books and stuff. I wanted to build things and do projects and things like that. So I was kind of like more, we called it industrial arts back then, but the hands-on sort of stuff, like building Tesla coils and things like that. Starting out here, just again, some of the projects. This is a junior this year, and again, we start out, this is putting resistors together on a circuit board. And again, very, very simple, starting out, taking some measurements with some test equipment and things like that. From there, we get up into the second year, and again, this is typical of just what the seniors are doing. So this was a senior project from about 2 weeks ago. So again, when they look at all the wires on something like this, they're like, you know where all those wires go? And you're able to put something together like that. And again, I call it you crawl before you walk, before you run. So we start out very slow and just keep adding things along the way. So again, if you start out with something like this, just a couple of parts, get a little more advanced. And that's why when you graduate, you know what this is, and processors and all the different gating circuits and the clocks and things like that. So
Yep.
Absolutely, it's all about projects and building cool things.
I love that. So do you see your students get frustrated a lot with some of what, the learning curve of everything?
Actually, I don't. I think
Good.
people are so into it, frustration. I mean, sometimes things don't work the first time or whatever. And again, I think in this day of like microwave ovens and we want everything instantly, our food is done. But sometimes when you're working on a project, it takes a while and you have to like watch it melt down and say, well, what the heck did I do wrong that time? And
Right.
kind of put it together with the team. Probably one of the biggest projects that we built here was a laser light show where we had a team of 5 seniors a few years ago. So they went out to like Darien Lake and they saw how the cool lasers are moving around. It's all done with mirrors and servo motors and things like that. But that project, they kept coming up with different designs, and I know they were very, very frustrated, but they kept at it. And I think that's the way it is in the real world too. Edison didn't make the light bulb overnight. It took about 500 tries of things that didn't work.
Right. That bring you closer to what will work, right? So
Absolutely.
I have to ask you, are you team Edison or team Tesla?
Oh, I'm in favor of both. They each have their merits. In fact, if I was to turn the computer around here on our student leader desk, we have a framed picture of Edison on one side of the desk and Tesla on the other. So they both kind of play nice and we get along here.
I love that. I like the harmony you're promoting in your classroom.
Absolutely.
So when we do talk about like your students taking your class, right? When they sign up for the class, if there is one thing that they could bring with them, one character trait that they could bring with them to be successful in your class, what do you think it would be?
Probably the most important thing I tell people is get some sleep the night before. I mean, it sounds kind of silly or whatever. And The junior class is sort of at the end of the day. So students generally have been through other programs. They've studied the French Revolution, you know, and all these other things. And then they get to electronics and it's like this is going to be totally different. So I think it's sort of keeping an open mind and not thinking of the same old sort of stuff when you get here. My daughter Amanda always she came home from school the one day and she said, "Dad, why do I have to learn about the metamorphic rock outcrops in the Tug Hill Plateau of New York and earth science?" He goes, "How's that going to help?" Well, if you're a geologist for ExxonMobil, maybe that might be useful, but again, here it's totally different. What we do is we teach saleable job skills, as I like to call them, things employers will pay you money for. So when you come here, keep an open mind. This isn't like going to, regular school or whatever you might call it. One of the coolest things for me is that the students don't want to leave here when the bell rings. So I kind of like go to them and I'll say like, "Okay, it's time to go to school now." And they're like, "No, we want to keep working on our projects or whatever." So
yeah, we hear about it like, "Do we have to?"
Yeah. Or my favorite, "Why can't we stay here all day?"
Right. We wish you could. We do. But it just doesn't work that way.
You have to make room for other students to come in.
Right, exactly. So speaking of students coming in, I know you have some students that come in, alumni that come talk to the students. Do you, in a perfect world where COVID doesn't, it's not a thing, do you get to go out and see any places in industry or like do any field trips?
Absolutely. Moog, we had talked about, we had traditionally gone to the Missiles and Space Division every year, visiting places like that. GM Powertrain, DuPont Yerkes, places like that. So we try to get out into the manufacturing sector, as well as smaller companies. So absolutely, get out and see what you don't know, all the different things that are out there. Because it's one of my favorite sayings is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So until you find out or you find a company and say, "Well, what do they make there? I don't even know what that is." And then you might develop kind of a real passion or an interest in it.
Right. You have a couple more questions. You have gotten the most questions tonight. Congrats. Does the class fill up every year? Your class is pretty full every year, right?
It is. We're very fortunate. There is usually a waiting list, again, but it's not for everybody as well. So some students, I mean, there is a bit of a commitment on your part. I'm not going to just like wave a magic Tesla coil and say like, "Hey, all of a sudden you can do all this kind of stuff." So
yeah.
So there's obviously got to be some effort on your part or whatever. As I said, keep an open mind. It's kind of not like regular school, sort of the stuff that you do.
It's kind of like anti-traditional school in a way. Like there's an element of school, right? There's theory we have to learn that might include a book, but I don't know any other class that's 2 hours and 15 minutes where you get up, walk over to like this huge supply cabinet and start building stuff.
No, and I think for most of our students, that's the kind of thing that they identify with and they like to do most. As I said, I wasn't the kind of like person that would sit at a desk and listen to somebody talk all day or whatever, or read a book. I had to get out and put projects and things like that together. Can I share one other quick project with you?
Please, yes, absolutely.
We started a project about 4 years ago, and we partnered up with the Office of Naval Research and the Navy and the military complex, and everybody's trying to get people more interested in STEM and engineering and stuff like that. So our students started building underwater remote operated vehicles.
Ooh.
So and of course you need water to finally test the thing out. I'm very fortunate in that we have a relationship with the Buffalo Naval and Military Park. So we built this underwater ROV and we went down to the Buffalo Naval Park and we opened up a hatch on the USS the Sullivans and there was a flooded compartment. And the students dropped the ROV in there and it had a TV camera on it and they were driving it around, kind of taking a survey of the hull and stuff like that for the Naval Park. So I thought I was watching like the Discovery Channel on TV.
Yeah, right?
Because it was just like, oh my gosh, this is something that the students put together in that little project. So you can't see it very well. We have the ROV, one of the ROVs that the students put together, but maybe we can see kind of a close-up of it here. But
yeah,
this is our Sea Perch project. This is inside the USS the Sullivans. But again, you can see the little TV camera, the display there and stuff. And then the students start thinking like, okay, well, next time we want to add telemetry to it. We want to be able to see like at what depth we're at. And like, well, how are we going to do that? Be able to tell like how deep it is and put a number on a display. And so it just led to more and more things. But again, those are the kind of projects where the students think of things to do or whatever. It's not like we're doing projects and kits, which, for example, for the holiday season, we always have students put together our typical holiday. And it's an excellent activity in soldering. They have to put all the parts in the right way and solder them and things like
I
that.
love that.
But again, this is great, but students who build stuff like this, it's like, yeah, follow instructions, it worked. I have no idea how it works whatsoever, what those things do. Whereas projects like the underwater ROV and stuff like that, the students have to start from scratch. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
we have
what
that
kind of
more
sense?
the engineering going on.
Absolutely. It's not just like following instructions and putting something together. They've got to
Right.
figure out how to do it. And then you talked about getting disappointed and things like that. And they put something together and it doesn't work. And then you just have to go back and try a different way.
Right. Oh, exactly. You have another question. Will we make electromagnets? It's a strange question. I just like electromagnets.
Yes, we do. We've got the military BAE and General Atomics. That's a real company. They put together a electromagnet catapult. In the olden days, when they launched aircraft off a carrier, it was done with steam, but now they're using electromagnets for doing that. We also, since you are kind of an aficionado in electromagnets, last year we had a team build a Thor's hammer. Now, basically, what from the Marvel comics. So, if you can imagine this giant hammer, and it was an electromagnet. There was a transformer in it from a microwave oven that we used as a coil and a battery. But here was the thing of it: if you set it on something metal and you turned it on, the electromagnet stuck to the metal, like a manhole cover or something, and you couldn't lift it. But we had a fingerprint scanner in it, so if you were like the right person and you grabbed it, it scanned your fingerprint, it shut the electromagnet off, and you go like, "Oh, what the heck? This is nothing," and you could lift it right up. So
You see
yes,
my face? The screen's not frozen. I am amazed. I am
so
amazed.
yes, we work with electromagnet. Absolutely.
I'm trying to keep my composure. That is the coolest thing I have ever heard, and students made it. That's so cool.
Yeah, look it up on YouTube. It's called Thor's hammer. Yeah, it's electromagnet.
I'm making a note.
Microwave oven part, sure. Repurpose.
Is this still in your classroom?
Yes, it is.
Okay, next time I'm at Harkness, I'm knocking on your door.
All
I want to
right.
take a crack at it.
Absolutely.
So we have a couple more questions. Is there a waiting list for this program? I don't know as of right now. It seems, Mr. Isula, you are very popular tonight. Is there a
It's not
waiting list?
me.
Oh, it's totally
I
you.
can't believe they pay me to do this. We just come here and build things and play and get jobs.
You make Thor's hammer. So I'm not sure if there's a waiting list yet for this program, but our registration doesn't open until January 4th. So if this is a program that is absolutely for you and you want to commit to 2 years, junior year and senior year with Mr. Isula, I would highly recommend reaching out to your school guidance counselor and asking if you can get this program onto your schedule for next year. Can you change your program from one to another early in your junior year? This is kind of one of these questions, right? Where it's like, because there are so many factors at play if you wanted to change within a year. If you are in a program and you're like, full stop, this is not for me, but I want to be in CTE, we'd be happy to work with you so long as it's in that first week, maybe first 2 weeks, but you learn a lot right out of the gate. So any after that 2-week period, it's really hard. The main reason people can't switch is because if classes are full, there aren't seats available. So if you want to go from fashion design into Mr. Isula's class, but Mr. Isula's class is full, it's not an option. So really, really think about what you're signing up for, research, reach out to the teachers. They're happy to talk to you. I'm happy to talk to you. Please, please, please just make sure it's something you want to do and you're interested in, because 2 years is a long time. So make sure you're into it. Let's see. Cool. I think, same gentleman with the magnets question. Cool. That seems similar to this channel called The Hacksmith. Have you heard of this, Mr. Isula? He makes comic book weapons that work, and that's one of them.
No, I have not seen that.
The Hacksmith. Might be worth checking out.
I'd like to build a transporter like in Star Trek, so maybe they have plans for that. That would be kind of cool.
A little bit of this.
See what happens. Absolutely. Live long and prosper.
Right. I read something where they said that, now I'm off topic, but Star Trek like predicted the future with cell phones and things because they designed cell phones to look like
They had the flip phone, the original.
Yep, so that people would
Absolutely.
accept them. So I don't know if that's true, but we started a little early. So we're actually at our 30 minutes, Mr. Isula. I really appreciate you talking to us. This was, I don't want to put anybody down, but I've had a lot of fun with your 30 in your 30 minutes. Oh, there's one more question. Is there a brochure that outlines the programs offered that can be sent? Yes, I'm going to sign off with Mr. Isula because he so generously was the last person late at night to talk to us. So I'm going to let him go. Thank you so much. And I will answer your question in just a moment.
My
Avery.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
Thank
if
you.
anyone wants to tune in next week, we'll be back. So, all right, brochure that outlines the programs. Yes. So I'm just going to talk out my answer here too. All of our programs can be found here at e1b.org/CTE. You would, and you know what? I'm going to find you the exact hyperlink to make life a little bit easier. So what we have on our website, we have a couple things. So we have brochures, we have videos, we have a lot of information available about all of our programs. So let me get that for you. We're going to go to high school programs. And if you click this exact link, I'm putting it in the chat. You click that exact link, it's going to take you to all of the different programs. And if you click on, if we're talking specifically about Mr. Isula's class, Mr. Isula's class is electronics. They're all alphabetical, electronics and computer technology. And it'll have more information there for you. There is a flyer, not a brochure, but a flyer, and there is a video there. Okay, so you can also click on Mr. Isula's, his name Thomas Isula. You can click on his hyperlink and it'll take you to his email address. I'm also going to type my email address into the chat right now. Please feel free to email me at any time. I'm happy to help you figure out which CTE program is for you. And if you feel like this is something you're, again, ready to commit to, I'm not the one that signs you up. Your high school counselor will be the one that signs you up. So make sure you connect with them soon, maybe even before Christmas break. Let them know that this is what you want in your schedule. But I'm going to stress it is a commitment. It is 2 years, your junior year and your senior year. I know we've talked about little switches and changes, and honestly, it doesn't happen often because of availability. So the other thing I didn't get a chance to say while Mr. Isula was in the chat because I was so distracted by the Thor's hammer thing is that he is another one-off program. There is only one class of electronics and computer technology taught by Mr. Isula. It is at Harkness. Your school will typically have no problem with bringing you to our school, providing you transportation so you can participate in his class. But still, since it's only one, there are limited seats. And I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I'm so thankful that you guys came in tonight that I want to make sure you have all the information at the ready so you can sign up for these programs that you just got to investigate. So again, electronics and computer technology. It's a one-off class at Harkness, as is dental, fashion, cybersecurity and networking, and engineering and robotics. Those are ones we all saw today and talked to the teachers. They only exist as one class and they're all at Harkness. So make sure if you want them, you talk to your counselor. Can't say it enough. If there's any other information that I can get to you, please, please, please email me. I'm more than happy to get that to you. So tomorrow night, if anyone is interested, we are going to talk to our skilled trades teachers. So HVAC, plumbing and HVAC, electrical systems, which is residential electrical wiring and some commercial, building trades where they build homes and they build structures, and welding with Mr. Feeney, where he teaches all different types of welding, and it's a really cool experience. So yeah, if you want to join me again tomorrow, I will be here. And again, we'll be talking to all these teachers again next week. Would anyone want to know what day next week? I'd be happy to tell you what day. Let me just find my list here. So if you want to hear from these teachers again for any reason, Tuesday from 4 to 8, we will be hearing from all the same teachers. Okay? So if you're interested, want to have a double check before you sign up, you are more than welcome. Same link as the one you're on right now. So other than that, if there's no other questions, I'm going to close out and say goodnight. So thank you guys all for being here with me. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your night. I know it's late, but there's a lot of fun stuff, and I guess we saved the coolest thing for last, which was that Thor's hammer. So yeah, if you need anything, let me know. Happy to help. Thank you all.